Hey guys, it's Savannah. Welcome back to my channel. For today's video, I have put together all of my favorite Dollar Tree Farmhouse DIYs and my thrift flips that have been my absolute favorite so far this year. So let's get started. First DIY, I'm taking this, I guess, beer jug. I don't know if it's a beer jug, medicine bottle. I got this from Goodwill, and I think I tried to show the sticker at the bottom, but I couldn't remember what it said. I think it was $2.25. And I am pulling inspiration from a Kirkland piece, and I'm going to do mine a little bit different, but I will insert that right here. Okay, so this is the piece that I saw that I absolutely loved. Mine is obviously going to be a little bit different, but Kirkland's has this for sale for $42. Yeah. So I just start out by taking my paintbrush and some Waverly white chalk paint, and I just give this a good coat, making sure that the middle is covered more than like the tops and the bottom, because you can see in that photo we do something different there. But just make sure that you get it as good as you want, or you know what I mean. And I feel like I see these jugs every time I go to thrift stores, so these are super easy to find. So once that was dry, I'm taking the color Elephant and I'm dumping this onto a plate, and I am then taking baking soda and I'm dumping this into the paint and mixing this up. Now, I've seen a few people do this, and I was super kind of excited to try this because I want this piece to look like a pottery piece. Like, I went out in my backyard, not in my backyard because we don't have red clay here, but you know what I mean, and put this on a pottery wheel and made it. So once I got a good texture, you kind of saw what I did. I just mixed that around. I started with a sponge first to try to get that ombre look, and it just was not working for me. So I do end up taking a Dollar Tree paintbrush, and just, you can see kind of what I'm doing here. I'm literally dipping it into the paint and dabbing it onto this jar, not going below that little bevel. Just, if I do go below the bevel, just a little bit. And I just continue this technique for a minute, just building up the paint and that texture. Then once I got the hang of it, I kind of flipped it over and did the bottom. I'm sorry you can't see this part. I didn't know that it was out of the camera, but you will see me do something else to the bottom in a second, and it'll be a little bit easier to see. You can kind of see what I did there. I didn't go up as far as I did on the top, so I wanted that to be minimal. And then I'm going back over the top again, just building that texture and getting it to a point where I like how it looks. Now, I was going to leave it with the gray, but I wanted to add almost like a brown color in it. And I, again, started out with that sponge and didn't like it. So I'm kind of trying to rub off what I just did there. And then I go in with that same paintbrush that still has a little bit of the gray on there, and taking my antique Waverly wax. And I'm just doing the same technique. And just going around, building up the texture, building up the color until I get it how I like it. Well, I thought I showed the bottom part, but I did the same thing on the bottom. And you guys, I love this. For $3, I just made something that inspired me that was $40, and I love how this turned out. Our second DIY, I'm taking 3 of these Dollar Tree houses, and you guys, I know I need a heat gun, but I honestly don't think about it until I'm removing the stickers. I'm like, oh my gosh, I need that. And I know I can use a hairdryer, but oh gosh, that's just too much effort. I got to go find one. So once I got the stickers off as much as I could, I sanded them down, and I'm giving 2 of these houses a coat of white Waverly chalk paint, and then I will tell you what I do with the other one. I did the bigger one, and then I did the longer skinny one in white. Now for this one, we're going to start out with some black apple barrel paint, and we're going to give this house a good coat. Make sure you're covering the sides and the edges so that it all looks evenly. And it's okay if you don't get full coverage on the sides, because I still wanted that little rustic farmhouse look. But for the front, I did want a good black coat. And then I am pouring some black paint on this plate, and then I'm adding some more baking soda. So again, just you want to get like a thick, chunky consistency. This is my first time doing it, so I don't even know if I've done this right. But I was just going for a thick, kind of chunky paint, if that makes sense. Then I took my paintbrush and I just started dabbing that paint on the front of the house. Once that first coat was dry, I then wanted to add the baking soda coat on top of it. And you guys, this turned out so cool. I cannot wait to show you guys this. I show you a close-up before I show you the finished product. And I love this. Definitely will be working with paint and baking soda a little bit more. And then just set that to the side to dry. And then I'm going back to the first 2 houses, and I'm sanding down the edges, making some of that wood come through and make it look a little rustic. Then I printed off our last name on my Cricut. I just measured the house on like my Cricut measuring sheet. Again, still working on the lingo. And then I put it on some transfer tape, and then I added this to the house. You guys, I don't know if it's the transfer tape or what I'm doing wrong, but I really struggled with this. And then I did establish in 2017. That's when me and my husband were married. So I added that in a different font and then pulled that up. Once those were on, because I did struggle with this, I Mod Podged over the letters just to make sure that they weren't going to go anywhere. And then I just sanded them down lightly to make so they weren't such harsh wording. And then I did end up dry brushing over them just a little bit to add a little bit more, rustic kind of distressed vibe. Now for the other one that we painted white, I printed out 5 on my Cricut because I have 3 kids and me and my husband, that equals 5. You didn't know you're going to learn math today, did you? No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so I just added that to there. And you guys, if you don't have a Cricut, I went without a Cricut for a long time. There are so many other options. Dollar Tree has numbers. They have letters. So you could definitely do this not using a Cricut. Again, I just sanded over that 5. And look, you guys, here's the texture of that house. I am obsessed. And this is how all 3 of them turned out. I love them. So let me know which one is your favorite. Moving on to our third DIY. Why am I singing so much? I don't know. Okay. This I just had, I bought this a while ago, but Dollar Tree does have these little square things. You guys have seen me use them. And I start off by giving this a good coat of Waverly white chalk paint and making sure that I covered the middle the most because there was words and stuff there. And then I do go on the sides as well. Once that was dry, I just start sanding down the edges, the face of the sign, not too much because, again, there were words under there and you don't want those to come through, but just sanding it down until I got it kind of how I liked it. And yet again, I printed something off on my Cricut, and I did struggle with this as well because, oh my gosh, I'm just learning. But I wanted to use this as a stencil, so I weeded out all of the letters and then I put it on the front of the sign. And then I'm just making sure it's straight. And if it's not straight, it's too late. But I had some more of that paint left over from the gray, and I thought that would be really pretty to use. So I am taking a sponge. Thank you guys so much for that tip. If you guys see me do something and you think, or you know there's a better way to do it, tell me, because I'm always looking to learn new things. So this stencil, the smaller parts and like the P and the E, those didn't transfer. So I'm just going back in and putting those in as good as I can. And then again, I'm taking that sponge and I'm just dabbing into the letters. And then I do end up going in and adding a little bit of that black because it was still on the plate. And yeah. Then I remove the vinyl, and then I go in and weed out the letters and stuff that was stuck, and the ones that I had to like add back in there because they didn't transfer well. So yeah, that's pretty self-explanatory. And then I just kind of dry brushed over it with some that same brush that I used to distress the bottle with. And then I sanded that down if I felt like it was too harsh. And I think this is just such an accurate, saying for what's going on in the world and then what's going on in my house, okay? So I thought this was so cute. I saw this saying somewhere and I was like, I definitely want to recreate that. But then I'm just going in and sanding down the sides, making sure everything looks smooth and it all flows together. And again, you guys, you can do this how you want. You guys know I always say that. Then I felt like it was missing something, so I wanted to add a bow. And I'm taking this burlap ribbon, this kind of farmhouse ribbon. All these are from Dollar Tree. And then this blue ribbon, which I thought was so pretty. I found this the other day, and I love it. And then, of course, you guys know I'm adding some raffia to my expo. And I twine those together, hold it pretty tight, and then I take some jute and I cinch this bow so it all comes together. And then I just hot glue it kind of catty-cornered on the side of this sign. And then if you're new here, you guys, I love Dollar Tree buttons. And so I picked out like this kind of navy blue one that kind of went with that I don't know, vintage kind of ribbon, and I glued that in the middle to bring it all together, fluff my raffia out, split it, and that is it. I love how this turned out. I think it's so cute. And my favorite DIY of the day, you are gonna need one of these Dollar Tree long signs. It doesn't have to be a Valentine's Day one, but if it does have any 3D embellishments on it, make sure to remove that because you can use that at a later time. And then I start by removing the hanger on the back and the staples. Next, I'm taking some of these Dollar Tree wood planks. Now, I had two bags of these, and I ended up taking some from each bag. I'm so bad about that. If I can't find something, I just open a new one. So definitely have to improve on that. But I ended up using 7 of these, and I'm not sure how many comes in one. So I would definitely grab 2, especially if you can find them, because I love these. But I just start laying them out and spacing them out as far as I want them to be. And you guessed it, next we're gonna start hot gluing them down. So I did space these out. I kind of just eyeballed them, but I ended up taking like my Cricut spatula thing and putting that in between them to kind of figure out how far the spacing should be. That way they were kind of even, but I kind of kicked myself because I don't know, that spacing didn't work out, but it ends up looking good anyways. So I would just recommend maybe using like a half of a ruler. I don't know, maybe just something a little bit thicker than a Cricut spatula. Then I'm taking some white Waverly chalk paint and I'm going over this whole sign, mainly focusing on the planks itself, but I'm still going in between them, just dry brushing almost, so it already looks a little bit distressed behind the wooden planks. Then once that was dry, I'm just taking my chippy brush and I'm going through and distressing the sign. I'm so sorry that this is out of frame. This sign is kind of big. It's too big for the camera, but you guys have seen me distress a million times. I just take it, go on the edges, and then kind of just dry brush in the middle. And then next I'm taking these Dollar Tree signs. I got these back at like Christmas time, but I know they sell clips like this. But anyways, you guys see that? You see that? That's a screwdriver, but it's a flathead. I did have a Phillips head and it is gone. My kids have taken it. But I just removed the clips from those picture frames and then I laid them out. I skipped one, put one down, skipped another, put another one down, and then I'm hot gluing those to the sign. Then I'm taking some lamb's ear. I get this from Walmart for 97 cents. I'm not sure if they have some out right now. I love this. I got these last year and I have them in my stash. So anyways, I'm just taking them. I trimmed off like the long stem and then I'm taking some jute and creating almost like a swag and just tying that off together and then trimming the jute so it doesn't hang off. And then we are going to create a bow to go in the middle of this. So I am just taking some burlap ribbon from the Dollar Tree. And I'm sorry I'm out of frame. I tried to like keep the sign in frame and then the bow was out of frame. But I'm dovetailing the burlap ribbon. You guys, if you are new here, I like to make these expos. If you've been here for a while, you know the drill. You know how I do it. I just take a bunch of ribbon that I like, lay it out in X formation, and then cinch it together. And make sure when you cinch it, leave some tails on the jute because we're going to take those tails and we're going to wrap it around that swag and tie them both together. And then we're just going to hot glue this swag to the top. Now, I just used hot glue. If you guys are making this to sell, I would definitely recommend using like some super glue from the Dollar Tree or something a little bit sturdier, but this swag isn't heavy, so I didn't think that it would be an issue. And then I just lay that on the top plank, and then I adjust the leaves to kind of get them how I want them to lay. And then we also are going to add a hanger to the back of this. Now, I don't want the jute to show, so I went down a little bit lower, and I did use super glue on the popsicle stick just to give it a firmer hold. And you guys, how cute is this? I love this. It would even be cute if you put like strong magnets on the back and put it like on the side of your fridge. I am just obsessed with this. So let me know what you guys think down below. Why, you're going to need another long sign from Dollar Tree. This should be called the long sign Dollar Tree video. But anyways, you're going to start by removing that burlap heart. And then for the first time ever, I actually had luck removing this paper. No water, no heat gun. I know it's crazy, but it worked. And so I just started by removing all of that paper from this sign. I gave it a good sanding, and then I give it a good coat of the white Waverly chalk paint. Next, I'm taking these little terracotta pots from Dollar Tree, and yes, one is broken. I was so mad when I got home because I bought these for this DIY, and we make it work. So anyways, I am taking some of these popsicle sticks and I am measuring them to the back because I want them to have a flat surface and something to adhere to. So I just start by measuring those and then trimming the popsicle sticks down, and then I hot glue those on to the terracotta pots. Now, you guys, I used super glue and hot glue just because I wanted it to have a really good hold. I did not want these pots to go anywhere. Next, I'm taking some of these Dollar Tree, I don't know, vase fillers, half marbles, whatever you want to call them. I actually saw this from my friend over at Hey Y'all Let's DIY. I will leave the link to her channel in my description box. She's newer to YouTube and I love her stuff. And I saw her do this and I wanted to try. I think it takes place of the Farmhouse beads almost. They're a little bit thicker, but they end up looking pretty cute. So I just started by hot gluing those on and spacing them out, eyeballing them. I didn't measure, but I just glue those all around the rim of these pots. Now, Think smart, not hard. I probably should have painted these pots before I glued these things on because I felt like it was really hard to get in there to make it look like the whole pot was covered. So learn from me, I would paint your pots first. That's just what I think would be easier. But I start by going around with some white Waverly chalk paint, trying to cover the whole pot, almost. I still like a little bit of that like terracotta showing through, but I do try to give it all a good coat. Then once those were dry, I'm taking my chippy brush and some antique Waverly wax and I'm distressing these as well. I go all over this bad boy, mainly focusing on like the half marbles, bowl fillers, and then just the raised edges of the pot. And I do that to all three of them. Did y'all forget about this long sign? Nope. I didn't. Okay, so next we're going to take our chippy brush and we're going to start distressing the longer sign. And I started, you guys, sometimes I'm like, do you even know how to speak, Savannah? I swear I know how to talk. I just feel under pressure when I'm trying to explain what I'm doing. Anyways, I'm just taking my chippy brush and some antique Waverly wax and distressing the sign. I did go down where the shiplap was to kind of define that a little bit more on the edges and then just all over the sign. Next, I took the pots and I kind of laid them and spaced them out how I wanted to, making sure the lip of these fell right under that first shiplap mark. And then I'm taking some super glue from the Dollar Tree and then also some hot glue. So if you are new to crafting, the hot glue acts as a fast hold and then the super glue acts as a permanent hold. So I do that to all three and then I hot glue them to this sign. Now this part has nothing to do with the finished product because I did change my mind, but I wanted to leave it in here to show you there's some other things that you can do. I put Spanish moss in there, but I opted out and just ended up putting this greenery, and I have this in my bathroom on the lower block shelf in there, and I think this is so cute. It's definitely like a boho kind of vibe. Boho farmhouse we'll go with, so let me know what you guys think. Moving on to our last DIY. Now you could totally not use this because I do end up changing my mind. Shocker. You guys, this video, I actually made another project for this video. Absolutely hated it, butchered it. So I didn't add it. And this one, I liked where it was going and I don't know, I felt like it needed something else. So I ended up changing my mind, but it does end up looking really cute. So I started by taking this picture frame and then I'm taking this wall tile from Dollar Tree. I love this. It's blue. I love the blue, but I'm taking the back of that picture frame. So this is the only thing that you would need to, you wouldn't have to use this, but I would recommend having like a foam board or something for the finished product. Anyways, so I lay this on here and I trace out the size and I cut this wall tile. Then I'm hot gluing it to the, what would this even be called? The back of the picture frame that has like the hooks and stuff on it. I'm hot gluing it to that. And this is why I say if you opted out of the picture frame altogether because I don't end up using it, you would need like a foam board or something and you would have to add a hanger to it. So I just hot glued this on there and then I had to go around and trim the excess edges, which that didn't, whatever, you know. And then I took a dry brush and some white Waverly chalk paint. I love this blue, but I definitely wanted to tone it down a little bit. So that's why I decided to dry brush over it. And then I put this back in the frame. Again, this is not the outcome, so you can skip that, but it is, you kind of have to see it to see what I do next. Anyways, I'm taking another one of these terracotta pots, and I loved the contrast between the terracotta and the blue. I thought it was very, I don't know, California adobe-ish, if you will. But I did want to distress it a little bit, so I took my dry brush and just dry brushed some white Waverly chalk paint all the way around the pot. And then we're going to do what we did in the second DIY. We're going to take a popsicle stick and put it on the back to act as a base. Then I did go in with my chippy brush and some antique Waverly wax and just kind of dry brushed it over as well, just to give it a little bit more contrast. And then I'm taking some super glue again for the long hold and then some hot glue for the short hold. And I am putting that kind of in the bottom portion of this DIY. Jeez. Okay. So yeah, I just hot glued that right there. Now, this is where I changed my mind. So you guys remember I have done a couple DIYs with that sign. It was the Valentine's Day sign that had wood on the outside. I did a truck. I also did the carrot sign with one of them. But I took the wood off of one of those because it was the exact same size as this picture frame. Addie's distressing it for me. But I'm taking some white Waverly chalk paint and distressing over those wood pieces. Just to give them a little bit of washed, like a washed look almost. And then I am hot gluing those around this sign. And then I definitely think the wood looks better than the gold. I felt like the gold threw off the other colors, but then I'm just adding some lamb's ear into this pot, and I think this turned out super cute. Again, it gives me kind of almost like California, I don't even know, Barcelona, Italy vibes. But anyways, you can style this anyway. You could put it on like a built-in shelf or hang it up. I think it's so cute. So let me know what you guys think down below. Which one was your favorite? First flip, I'm taking this cutting board. I got this for $1.98. We're just gonna round up to $2. So I spent $2 on this, and I started by removing the jute cord that it's used to hang it up. I just felt like the jute made it look really cheap. You'll see what we do to replace that. But then I did sand this off camera because I just didn't want to get the sand on my mat. And then I started by giving it a good coat of the white Waverly chalk paint. I do end up going over this 2 times just to cover up those flowers and make sure that they did not show through. I guess the person that had this before used a pencil, so you could still see that. And then once that was dry, I normally don't worry about the back, but because this is going to kind of just sit in my kitchen, I did want to make sure that the back was finished. So I did give that a coat of the white Waverly chalk paint as well. Then I'm taking my Dollar Tree chip brush and some antique Waverly wax, and I'm just taking it and going on the edges. I'm going to let you guys watch this so that you can see how I do distress things. Someone asked me, do I let the base coat dry before I start distressing? Yes, I do, but I don't let the distressing dry before I go back over it with the base coat. So this is kind of what I do. I just go over distress and then go back over with that base coat to try to blend it all in. And then I do repeat that same step on the back, like I said, because this is going to be in my kitchen, and I did want the back finished on this for once. Then I'm taking some of this Dollar Tree faux ribbon or faux leather. I finally found some of these, you guys. I just found the lighter kind, but this is my first time using it, and I gotta say, I am obsessed. But I cut off a piece, and then I'm cutting a very thin strip of this. This is going to act as the hanger, but I didn't know how long to go. I kind of just guesstimated, and then once I got that like how I wanted, as thin as I wanted, I'm going to put it through the hole and tie a knot at the top, not at the bottom, at the top, so it creates a hanger. Then I printed this out on my Cricut. I actually got this from Emily Long. She has her own Etsy shop, and she gave me a discount code for you guys. And I'm going to leave that in the description box, a link to her Etsy shop, and then the discount code under there. But she has tons of cute little sayings in there. And so if you don't have a Cricut, that is an option too. But I thought this was so cute. It says, "I will love you until the cows come home." I picked this out and then I'm like, when do cows come home? Hopefully they never come home. So I think it's so cute. She does have tons of other cute farmhouse and just cute little sayings on there. So go check her Etsy shop out. Again, I'm going to leave the link to that in my description box. So then I just started by putting it on the transfer tape and I played around with it. I didn't know if I wanted this in the middle, and then I decided to go at the bottom. So I stuck that down, pushed down, and then pulled the transfer tape off. Then I'm just taking that same paintbrush that I used with white Waverly chalk paint and just dry brushing over the letters just to distress them a little bit and not make them so bold. Then I felt like it needed something else. I felt like it was too plain at the top. So I'm taking one of these Dollar Tree hearts. This is the one, it's like red sparkles on the front. I obviously didn't want that, but I wanted one a little bit bigger than the regular wood ones. So I stained the back of this and then distressed it with that white Waverly chalk paint, and then I hot glue that above the wording. And that is it, you guys. I love this. So you have to let me know what you think of this flip, and hopefully the cows never come home. So our next flip is like this wall organizer. I saw this and automatically knew what I wanted to do with it. It had like some writing on the front that was engraved, and it was $3.98. So let's round up to $4. So right now we are at $6. So I started by removing the little hooks at the bottom just because I'm not going to use this for like mail and bills and like keys. So I wanted to remove that. And then I started by taking some putty and rubbing it on the front where those engraved words were, because I didn't want those to be there anymore. And then once that putty was dry, I did sand it off camera again because it was like snowing when I sanded that down. So I didn't want that to get messy on my desk, on my mat. And then once I had that sanded down, I'm going in with some white Waverly chalk paint, and I'm giving this a good coat. So I got to tell you guys, this was kind of hard to get down in the nooks and crannies. So it did take time, but I definitely think it was worth it. So I'm just going to show you bits and parts of the painting process. Then once I had most of it covered, I'm going in with my antique Waverly wax and my chippy brush, and I just start by distressing the front sides of these. Now, when I say I got a good coat, I was really not worried about some of that wood showing through, because we're going to go back and distress it to begin with. So I'm just going in with the antique Waverly wax, and then going back in with my base coat, rubbing it together, blending it in, and then repeating that same step for the one above. And then I forgot this one side, so I'm going back over that with some white Waverly chalk paint and making sure I'm covering that as well. Now, I originally wasn't going to do this. I was just going to do the antique Waverly wax, but I decided to take my chippy brush and some black apple barrel paint and go in on those edges just to give it a little bit more, I don't know, definition and a little bit more, I don't know, distressing character. But I loved it with the black on the edges and a little bit of black in the middle. I felt like it just pulled the whole piece together. And then once I kind of like had everything how I wanted to, I was just going back up and doing some final touches and doing the top as well. And that is it, you guys. I love this. When I saw this, I originally knew what I wanted to do, and for once, well, not for once, but it did come out what I had envisioned, and I love it. So for our last flip, I found this box and I loved the black metal on the sides. I thought that was so cute. And it is a fairly sturdy box and it was $2.98. So that is, let's say $3. So we are at $9. So this will be our last flip. And then on today's episode of using whatever you can before actually needing a screwdriver, I am just taking this box cutter and removing these metal pieces because I don't want to get any paint on there. Then I'm taking my white Waverly chalk paint and I'm just giving this box a really good coat. I don't worry about the insides and I don't worry about the bottom. And then when I say good coat, you guys know I don't mind not doing two coats on anything brown because I always end up going back and distressing, and I always like some of that brown coming through. Then once that had dried, I'm going back in with my antique Waverly wax and of course my chippy brush. And you guys, these are from Dollar Tree and I gotta say I'm really not disappointed. I love the technique they give. I definitely will be buying these again. So anyways, I just go in with the antique Waverly wax and back over with my base coat like normal, and then I repeat that on all four sides. Then I do make sure to distress the top. When I said I didn't worry about the inside, I didn't worry about the inside, but I did do the lip of this little vase. So once I kind of got it all how I wanted to, I started to go back in and put those metal, I don't even know what they would be called, metal corner pieces back on and putting the screws back in. So I left this part in here because I wanted to show you guys. I was originally going to add like these wood beads. They're not really beads because they don't have holes in them, but I was going to leave these on, put these on here as risers, and I decided to take them off because I didn't love it. I even tried painting them black, but I did want to give you guys another idea because again, if you like it, personal preference, I think it doesn't look bad. It just wasn't my style. So I did end up removing them, and this is complete, and I just stuck some greenery in there, and I think this is so pretty. It would be pretty in the center of a table or honestly just anywhere in your house. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Let me know which flip was your favorite. Okay, so for our first DIY, you're gonna need 2 of these Dollar Tree crates. And I started by removing the stickers and then taking like my Cricut spatula and popping the middle out. I was so shocked at how easy that was. And then, yeah, so I just popped these out. I didn't want to like bend my spatula. So for the sides, I just used my hand and they popped out pretty easy. I was actually surprised. I thought that was going to be more work. Then I'm taking my antique Waverly wax and I just start by going around and staining all of these crates. And I didn't worry about the top of this one, but the one that we removed the bottom, make sure you get the top as well. Then once those were dry, I'm just taking my hot glue gun and I'm going around the lip of this, and then I'm going to set this other crate on top of it, and it's going to create like a little, almost like a vase kind of wood holder thing, if you will. And then I just kind of like let that dry, make sure it's set up really well. Then I'm taking a Dollar Tree chip brush and some white Waverly chalk paint, and I'm going back over where I stained this and just dry brushing it. I've never done like distressing the opposite. Usually I do white and then distress with Waverly, the antique Waverly wax, but I kind of was digging how this was coming out. And then same technique that I always use, I go back over with the base coat just to tone down where I distressed a little bit. Then I'm taking this, I don't know, what is it, hanger thing that I found at Dollar Tree, and I love this sign. So I'm trying to pop that metal sign off. It did come off, but it left like the holes in the side where they, not hammered it down because it wasn't nails, but you know what I mean. So I'm just taking some Dollar Tree caulk and I'm filling those in. I think it would be super cute, like now that I'm looking back at it, if you took some like tacks and painted them black and put those on the side. I think that would be really cute. Then I'm just sanding it down, just distressing it a little bit more, and getting it how I like it. Then once that was dry, I kind of just sand off the excess that was on top of it. And then I'm going to hot glue this to the front of this little box. Then I'm just taking some more of that antique Waverly wax and just dry brushing over this sign as well. Where I filled the holes, that took more to it. So, I mean, it was okay. It turned out looking cute, but I just wanted this to look like a rusted metal sign, and I put some greenery in it. This is super simple, but I love how it turned out. So for our next DIY, you're going to need 4 Dollar Tree picture frames. These picture frames by themselves are absolutely adorable. They're already kind of like farmhouse, distressed. So they're really cute. And I just started by removing everything from the back. Then I'm taking this metal sign. It has a little house on the front. I think it says like home sweet home, or this house is our home, something like that. Anyways, it's screwed in. So I'm just using, not a screwdriver, of course, because we don't do that here. I'm just trying to get the screws out, and I'm just using, Then I am hot gluing the 2 picture frames together and holding them for a minute. Make sure they dry before you move them. And then I'm just repeating that step with the other 2, hot gluing those together. And then I am going to hot glue all 4 of them together. And then just for some extra security, I'm taking these jumbo popsicle sticks. These are from Walmart, and I'm just gluing them almost in like a cross formation on the back, just to, hold them together and make sure that they don't come apart. And then I'm just taking my Dollar Tree chippy brush and some white Waverly chalk paint, and I'm just dry brushing over this frame. Like I said before, these are already honestly beautiful the way they are. I just wanted a little bit of more contrast, a brighter white, some darker distressing. So that's what I'm doing here. So I'm kind of just gonna let you guys watch. And then once I had that covered, I'm taking another chippy brush from Dollar Tree and some antique Waverly wax. And again, just dry brushing over this, bringing out some more darker colors in with the lighter colors and the colors that were already there. So yeah, it's just a bunch of colors. Then I'm just going back over that distressing with my base coat, which was the white Waverly chalk paint, using the same chippy brush and kind of just toning down some of that distressing and giving it more dimension, brighter areas, you know what I mean? And then last but not least, I just wanted to sand down like the raised edges because this had like some black distressing in before, so I wanted to pull some of that black out as well. Nothing much to that, just sanding on the raised edges. So then I'm taking this wreath. I have had this in my stash. I think it came on something from Kirkland's that I got on sale, but I took it apart and I love this wreath. So I wanted to use this. And then it says bless our home, in case anyone was wondering, because I could not remember what it said. But I'm just hot gluing the wreath down in the center of the faux window. And then I'm going to take this house and then hot glue that in the middle of the wreath. Then I'm just taking this wired jute cord from Dollar Tree. I've never seen this before. This is new to me, but I thought it was really cute as a hanger versus just, you know, like limp jute cord. And then I hot glue that to the back, and that is it, you guys. I love this one. I think it's so cute, and it will definitely be in my house year round. I hope you guys are enjoying today's video so far. If you're new to my channel, I'm Savannah and I love doing Dollar Tree DIYs, or honestly anything DIY on a budget. So if you like what you see today, I hope that you stick around, hit that subscribe button, like, share. It really does just mean the world to me, and let's get back into crafting. Next, I'm taking this square wood thing. This actually is from Dollar Tree. It had like a canvas thing on the front. It was in my daughter's room. She decided she didn't want it, so it's been sitting in my stash. She took it apart. I don't even know what she did. Anyways, it's been sitting in my stash and I wanted to use it. So I started by taking some stain and staining around the sides. Antique Waverly wax, of course. Wouldn't do anything else. And then I am taking my chippy brush with some white Waverly chalk paint and just dry brushing around it as well. And then I didn't film this part because you guys know I'm like a walking hazard, especially things that burn you. But I just took this Dollar Tree poster board and I measured this out and I cut it out with a box cutter. I did go a little bit over, so this is what I'm doing right here. I'm just kind of measuring it with a pencil and then I do trim that up. Now, I've used this before to like craft on, so it did have some paint. So I wanted to give this like a blank canvas. So I'm taking some white Waverly chalk paint and just covering that. If you did buy this brand new, you could totally skip this step. Then I found these like 3D raised flowers at Dollar Tree. They had silver and they had gold, but I wanted the silver because I felt like they looked more like metal. And I just start by placing them on this canvas. I do end up going a different direction, so I have to end up moving them around, which I'll explain in a little bit. But there was literally no rhyme or reason to this. I just started placing them wherever I thought one needed to go. Then I'm taking this like, I can't remember the name of this, you guys. I'm totally blanking. If you want to know the name, just comment down below and I will give it to you. I'm just not near it right now. But anyways, I'm just taking some of this paint and I'm just going over everything, the flowers, the background, and just dry brushing, not giving it like a gray coat because I want some of that white to show through as well. But yeah, just trying to cover all the flowers and some of the background. Then I'm just taking my Dollar Tree chippy brush and some Antique Waverly wax, and I'm just dry brushing over the flowers just to give them a little bit more dimension. Then I'm taking another one of these Dollar Tree signs and I want the heart off of this. So I start by removing the screws from that. And at first I was gonna put the heart kind of like in the corner, but the more I looked at it, I thought it looked cuter in the middle. So since I already laid my flowers, there was a blank spot down in the corner where I was originally gonna put it. So I started like removing some of the flowers that would not even be seen and filling in some of those blank spots. And then since I did move some things around, I had to go back over with that, you guys, I am like so upset that I cannot remember the color of this. I want to say like cucumber, but I know that's not it. But anyways, I just went around and just covered in some of those areas. I didn't worry about the middle. And then I'm taking my white Waverly chalk paint and kind of just distressing the heart as well, sanding it down and making that look a little bit rustic too. And then because these were silver before and they almost looked like metal, I wanted some of that to pop out. So I took my little finger sander and sanded down some of the flowers and just wanted some of that metal to pop out. Then I'm taking my hot glue gun and I'm gluing this frame around. And then obviously hot gluing the heart in the middle and I did go around and touch up just a little bit more around on the flowers just to get it how I liked it. And you guys, pictures do not do this piece justice. Like, you should see it in person. I even had to show you kind of in a different light because I just feel like it's so pretty. I don't know, maybe it's just me and I'm biased, but let me know what you guys think. And then for our last DIY, I'm taking this Dollar Tree long sign. I'm removing the heart just because I can save it for later. We're not even going to use the front of this, but you guys know I like to keep things. So I just started by removing the heart and then flipping it over, removing the hanger from this. And then I always sand down where the staples are because it does end up making the holes flush with the sign. And then this is what I mean by a walking hazard. This was so unnecessary. But anyways, I am taking some white Waverly chalk paint and I'm giving it this back of the sign, obviously a really good coat of it. And then I left this part in here so I could show you guys what not to do. But I wanted to like make shiplap lines at first. So I don't even know what I'm doing, you guys. I've done shiplap before. Why I tried to do it different, I have no idea. But I tried to use the elephant color and just go down and make lines. It ended up looking hideous. So I repainted that and set that aside to dry. Then I'm taking these, look how pretty these are, you guys. I normally am not into like Dollar Trees, like florals too much. I mean, they do every now and then have some cute ones, but I loved these. I felt like these look like if you pulled over on the side of the road and picked your girl some flowers, this is what they would look like. So I am putting them all together and then I'm taking some jute and I start by tying off a knot and then slowly wrapping these together, almost like a bouquet. That way they just all stay together and don't move. Then once this sign recovered from the hack job I did on it, I'm taking my chip brush and some antique Waverly wax and just distressing over it and then going back in with the white Waverly chalk paint and just toning it down and getting it to a distressing that I like. Then I'm taking this Dollar Tree burlap ribbon and I'm laying it under and I'm gonna put the flowers in the middle to see how much of this ribbon I am going to need. I thought, oh yeah, I'm gonna do this, measure it out, and then I just end up cutting it and guessing how much I need. So yeah, so you're gonna cut that and then you're gonna tie it into a knot. And then I do go at the bottom and dovetail the edges just to give it a more like finished look. And I do that on both sides. And then I go in with that same brush that I used to do the base coat, the white Waverly chalk paint. And then I just kind of dry brush the ribbon, dry brush the leaves, dry brushed everything. And just to give it a more rustic farmhouse vibe. Then I was gonna leave it like that, but I wanted to add like a traditional bow. So I just took some more of that burlap ribbon, hot glued it in like a little tube shape. And then I took some jute and I cinched the middle of that, wrapped it around a couple times, you know, just to make the middle look like it was made that way. And then I hot glued that to the center of the little knot thing, like the tails. And then I go in and I dry brush those as well. Then I'm just hot gluing the back where I wrapped that bouquet with the jute just to make sure that it didn't go anywhere and the flowers were gonna stay put. And then I'm adding a hanger to the back. I'm just taking some more of the jute and just putting that on there, reinforcing that with popsicle sticks, just to make sure that that hanger does not fall. And And then, yeah, that's it. I love how this turned out. I think it's so pretty for spring. So again, let me know which one is your favorite. For this one, you are going to need one of these long Dollar Tree signs. It doesn't have to be this one. This is just the one that I had. So if you do have this one, I started by removing that heart and sanding that down because I want to use the front of this one. Usually when I work with these, I just use the back, but I wanted to use the front because it kind of has like that shiplap look. And then I started by giving it a coat of the Waverly chalk paint, the white Waverly chalk paint. And I think I ended up having to do 3 because I didn't want any of those words to come through. So it did take a couple of coats. While that was drying, I am taking this Dollar Tree mason jar and I end up using that chain. I coat it with gray first, but I absolutely hated it. So I go back and do something different to that in a second. Then once this part was dry, I'm just taking my distressing brush and I'm just going through and I'm just, again, heavy handing this with the distressing first and then going back over it with the brush that I use to do the white coat, and then I just so on and so forth until I get it how I liked it. I didn't want to do too much sanding. I usually like to sand my distressing down, but I didn't want any of those words to come through. So I did lightly sand it, but I would not recommend like going heavy. And I just sanded that down a little bit. Again, not too hard because you don't want those words to come through. Then I'm taking this Dollar Tree hanger. I found this like in the home section. This one just says "Bless This Farmhouse," and I'm gluing it about a 1/2 inch down from the top. And then I found these at Dollar Tree. They have like a star, and then they have this one with a chain. And I'm kind of trying to make sure that my mason jar will hang, you know, as low as I want it to. Then I went back in and I just painted this white and I put it all together, distressed that a little bit. I put the chain on and then I hung it up and I stuck some florals in there. And you guys, this is my absolute favorite. I think this is my favorite Dollar Tree DIY I have done yet. Okay, for this next DIY, I found this candle holder at a thrift store for $2.98, and I absolutely loved it. It is so thick and it's heavy. So I just started out by taking some of this Waverly Moss color and giving it a good coat around everything. And there's really not much to this. I just wanted to make sure that I covered it as good as I could because I am going to go back and distress it, but I wanted this all to have an even coat. And I guess because this is like such a light but still a color, it definitely needed more than one coat. Then once that was dry, I'm taking my paintbrush and I'm taking some white Waverly chalk paint and I'm kind of just dry brushing over everything. And you want to do this before you sand it because you want it to kind of like all flow together. You don't want to sand it and have some pieces showing and then going back over with the white. At least that's how I do it. Again, you can do whatever works for you. But making sure that I go like harsher on the corners and where there's like beveled areas. So kind of just getting it to like a distressing that I like. And yeah. Then I am going to go in with my little finger sander and I am just sanding down the edges, the parts that are like raised, kind of getting some of that wood to show back through, and honestly just going wherever I think there needs to be some. There's really no rhyme or reason to this. And then once I got enough how I liked it, this is how it turned out. And I think this is so cute. I don't even know if I want to put a candle on it. I might just keep it like as a random piece for decoration. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. So since some of you guys liked the last video I did with the Valentine's XO with this little box, I wanted to do something else that you could use every day for everyday decor. So I'm taking another one of these boxes, but this time I'm giving it a coat of Waverly white Waverly chalk paint. And then I'm making sure I'm doing the sides as well. I didn't do this in the last video, but I do wanted to do this one a little bit different and to match like your everyday decor. So again, you don't have to paint it. You can avoid this step or you can paint it whatever color you want. Then once that was dry, I'm just taking my chippy brush and I'm just kind of going around the edges and getting the sides and distressing it as good as I like. I wanted it to, like on this, there's screws in this sign where it's holding that little front piece together. And I made sure that those were distressed a little bit more than, you know, versus like the box. And then I just go back over that with the same paintbrush that I used to paint this box until I got it kind of how I wanted it. Then I'm taking, you can see that scrapbook paper right there. I don't show me actually cutting it out, but I measure and then I cut out a little square and I slid that down into the little area where you can, you know, put something. And then I'm just going in with my little sander and I'm just dressing like the front, the sides, the corners, getting it kind of how I like and making this look more like rustic and I don't know, farmhouse. And then you can do whatever scrapbook paper you wanted in here. I just thought this one was so cute. And then I'm taking one of these little wood hearts and I stained it, or I probably already had it stained. And then I'm hot gluing that into the middle. This is super simple, but I also feel like it's really cute just to stick somewhere or just like extra decor. Okay, for this last DIY, I am taking one of these wood Dollar Tree signs, and this just happens to be a St. Patrick's Day. I'm trying to rip off the paper. I don't know why I always try to do this. So I'm sorry this part's out of frame, but all I'm doing is trying to rip off the paper like a crazy person. Then I sanded that down and I moved that off the table because there was glitter on this and I did not want to get glitter everywhere. Does anyone notice how like at the beginning of my videos, it's such a neat, clean space. And then towards the end of my videos, there's stuff everywhere. Oh my gosh, I am so messy when I craft, you guys. I have got to get more organized. Okay, so I just started out, I couldn't get all that paper off, so I sanded that as flat as I could, but that's going to be the bottom anyways. So I just started by giving this a coat, and this is going to need a couple. I'm using that moss Waverly color, and I just love this color. I think it's so pretty. Someone asked me in my last videos why I did everything in white or black, or so I tried to venture out just a little bit, just a little bit this time, and I love that color. Then I don't know where the footage went of this, but these are the black little pots of gold that Dollar Tree has right now, and all I did was glue 2 of them together, and I am now coating them with the white Waverly chalk paint, letting them dry, doing another coat, and switching back and forth between those 2 items as they dry. Once it was dry all around the sides and the front, I'm then going in the back because the back is going to be at the top of our thing. That's going to be the thing that we're displaying. And once these were dry, I'm taking my chippy brush and then that same white Waverly chalk paint that I used to paint these, and I'm just distressing these. These also came with handles, so I did rip those off. Again, not sure where that went, but we're just going to go with it. So yeah, I'm just going through and distressing this, kind of going, you know, like in the middle and where it bevels out the most. Again, you guys know I always like to go heavy-handed with the distressing and then tone it down. And then I'm distressing the sign, and I'm just going on, you know, again, heavy-handed. Everything in this house is distressed, including the mother. Oh my gosh, I'm just kidding. Just stressed. Yeah, I'm always stressed. Okay, so I just go heavy-handed with it, and then I go back over with the color that I use. And that's usually my technique with anything, unless wood. I like to sand down my distressing with wood. And then I am just going to hot glue this to the bottom of that, and then, you know, kind of hold it there for a second. But be careful, because obviously those things are plastic, and when you're pushing down, you don't want to push too hard, because I think they will melt. I'm pretty sure. I don't know. But just be careful. Then I'm just taking this paintbrush and kind of cleaning up the glue, and that is it. I think this is super cute and just a simple piece that you can style with anything. Put a candle in there, some farmhouse beads, and I love how this turned out. So for this DIY, I'm taking this wood little stand I got from Target, the little bullseye playground, and it was $3. And I just start right by removing the tag, because I don't feel like you should ever leave the tag on anything. And then I just start by taking white Waverly chalk paint and just giving this a good coat. I didn't have to do more than one, because this was a blank canvas and I still wanted some of that wood to show through. Then I printed out this saying on my Cricut, and I'm not going to tell you guys what it's going to say. You have to wait till the end, because it's, I just saw this and I fell absolutely in love with it, because I couldn't relate even more. So I just printed it off. You guys, I'm still trying to learn how to weld things. So like, I wanted this to all be one piece, and like the saying, one on top, one on bottom, you know, like one after the other, so I didn't have to do them individually. But I couldn't figure that out. So this is what we're working with. Also, whoever told me to take my transfer tape and stick it on like my clothes or my t-shirt first, genius! Did you guys see how easy that came off? I am so learning. And I bought Cricut transfer tape just to try, but this ended up working fine. So next, I'm taking my next little part of this saying, and I'm doing the same thing, putting the transfer tape on it and sticking it to the sign. And again, it comes off wonderfully. I actually use the same piece of transfer tape that I used for the first one. And then same thing, I'm taking the next line and I am using my transfer tape and, you know, putting that on there. Again, if you guys have any tips on how to get, like, if I'm doing a saying and I want to like enter and then put something down below, I tried to weld all these and it just didn't work. I Googled it and it said you had to have shapes to weld stuff. I don't know if that's true. So again, that transfer tape trick worked amazing. So if you guys struggle with transfer tape, one of my subscribers said to like stick it to something like your t-shirt, and that worked wonderful for me. I'm just trying to line these up as good as I can, and then I do the next one. I did struggle, I wouldn't even say struggle, like there were a few little mistakes, but I just rubbed them down and it came off perfectly. So I am going to be doing that way more often. And then I just took these two little greenery twigs that I had in my little scrap area, and I am making a little swag. Now the placement of this, if you can see on the top, I struggled with this at first. I was trying to figure out how I wanted the greenery to lay, because I still wanted you to be able to see the words, because the words are the most important part of the sign. I'm going to put this by my front door, so when everyone walks in, they know what's up. So then I just glued the swag kind of to the top of the sign, and I had to play with it to get it how I wanted, and then I kind of glued the leaves down to make sure that they didn't cover it. And then I added these two little jute bows, and you guys, I love this. It's so simple, but I feel like it's so cute, and if you have kids, I'm sure that you can relate. DIY or makeover. This one is kind of like a makeover. I got this tin sign back from Big Lots. It was probably at most $10, maybe 15. And I've had it for a while, and the colors just don't go with my house anymore. So it's just been sitting in my guest room, and I wanted to give it a makeover. So I started out by giving it a good coat of Waverly chalk paint. And then I go in with my chippy brush once it's dry, and I start distressing it. Now, you guys, I bought a tile from Dollar Tree, those little stick tiles. It's like a blue colored one, and it looks just like like it's raised, and I can't find it. It's somewhere in this house or in my craft room, but it would be really cute stuck on maybe like a piece of wood, and then painted like this. Sammy from Unicorn Dust Designs did a really cool thing with stick tiles. So if you're looking for something like this, there's definitely a way to do it with Dollar Tree items. But for 15 bucks, you can't, I mean, at most 15 bucks, you can't beat this makeover. I love how this turned out. So once I got like enough distressing on there, I took my sander and I started kind of like sanding on the raised edges, making that metal come out. I hate it in the middle because I felt like I put too much like antique wax on there, which is okay. I went back over it with some more white paint, and then I sanded back over that again. And this is where I go back in with some more of that white Waverly chalk paint, just to kind of like tone down some of those areas where I kind of went a little crazy with the distressing. But I'm going to show you guys the inspiration for this. I saw a picture on Pinterest, and I immediately was like, oh my gosh, I can redo that sign. So here's the picture I saw, and then I went to like click on it to see like how much it was, and you guys, no thank you. So I remembered that I just had this sign sitting upstairs from when we moved, and I thought it would be so pretty to kind of just, draw inspiration from that piece and make this one my own. So, and I feel like stuff like this is super easy to thrift too, even if you don't want to buy it brand new. But I love how it turned out. This is the final product. I think it's so pretty and detailed. So let me know what you guys think. So moving on to our next decor piece, you're going to need one of these Dollar Tree home signs. This is part of their Valentine's, I don't know, collection. It's even a collection. But I'm just starting by going over the home with white Waverly chalk paint. Again, this wood is kind of super pretty already, so I didn't mind some of that showing through. And then I took a smaller brush to get like the sides and inside the letters, and yeah. Once I had it all covered how I liked it, I'm taking my little chippy brush and I'm just distressing it. I think my light is haunted today in this video because it keeps changing colors. But I just distress it, and then I just dry brush over with that same white Waverly chalk paint that I used, and just get it to a distressing that I like. And then I'm taking some scrap greenery. Now, I believe you guys know I keep like a scrap box of greenery, but you could use anything, any greenery you had. You could even use, like if you wanted to make this more for spring, you could use like some yellow flowers. But I'm just taking some hot glue and I'm going around the O and laying the greenery in O form, O formality. Then once I had like the O kind of like shaped out with the greenery, I'm just taking some of this little scrap greenery as well. I believe this is a 97-cent pick from Walmart that I just pulled a little thing off of. And I'm just taking the leaves and just trying to make the O just a little bit more fuller and to make it lay and look nice. And then I don't even know why I did this, but I kind of liked it. I just took the dry brush and I just kind of went a little bit around the wreath, I guess the O or the wreath O. And I love how this turned out. I think it's so cute and it can definitely be used year round. So for our next DIY, I am taking this little house. Now I used this before in a previous video, but this is a different one, obviously. And I start by opening it and removing the blocks and setting those to the side and then detaching the house from the block itself. Then I sanded the back down so there wasn't rough edges, but we're not going to use that side, so it really doesn't matter unless you're like, you want to cover it and finish it, which is completely fine. But I'm tracing that out on some scrapbook paper. Love this black and white scrapbook paper. And then I used way too much Mod Podge, but I Mod Podged that and then I laid the scrapbook paper over that. And then I Mod Podged back over that and set that to the side to dry. Then I'm taking the farmer's market calendar and I'm cutting out that honey part. So I start by taking a lighter and I'm just trying to like burn the edges because I want this to look very old and worn. Just be careful if you're using a thumb lighter because I burnt myself again. And if you guys don't know, like a lot of you asked me in my last video what happened to my arm. I burnt it on a heater. So that I just need to stay away from fire. But anyways, I'm just going around the edges and then trying to like remove that because it'll like ash up, if that makes sense. And just trying to like knock those off. And then I did cut it down a little bit smaller and just continued burning the edges until I got it where I wanted. And then I Mod Podged that onto the house. Okay, guys, I just listened to my last voiceover and you can hear my little baby snoring. Listen. So sweet. Okay, moving on. So once that was dry, I took some of my antique Waverly wax and I'm just dry brushing over the whole thing. Like, don't be afraid. I wanted to go over the whole thing to give it a more antique, rustic look. And then I sand down the edges so that the house is, you know, the shape it should be. And then I did sand a little bit on the front side of it as well. And it kind of took a little bit off of that calendar. And I thought that looked so cute. So then I am going to hot glue the little square back on. And then I wanted to distress that as well. So I just took my my antique Waverly wax and just went over that and then sanded that down. And then put the little blocks back in. And that is it. And I think this is so cute for springtime or even year round on a 3-tiered tray. I love how this came out. Moving on to our last and most troublesome DIY of the day, I'm taking this Dollar Tree little canvas wood sign and I am giving it all a coat of the white Waverly chalk paint. And then I had to do, you guys know sometimes I only do one coat, but for this one I had to do 2 because the middle where it said home, that was coming through. So I would recommend 2. Once that was dry, I'm going in with my little chippy brush and I am just distressing around this. And again, no rhyme or reason, just playing around with it till I get it how I like it. Okay, This is my second go around, okay, you guys? You guys know I just got a Cricut and I'm trying to figure everything out. And I don't know if it was because like the texture of this thing, but I tried to just print out the words home and put them on there and it didn't work. So sometimes things happen for a reason, and I kind of love how this turned out a little bit more. But I weeded out the actual letters and left it almost as like a stencil and transfer that onto the sign. And then as far as the E you just saw, I just stuck that in there. And then I am taking some black apple barrel paint and I am going over these letters. Now, I didn't want them to be like so harsh, so I took like my, I guess, scrap t-shirt that I use everything for and kind of wiped them down just a little bit. And then I went back over them and then wiped them down again. And then when I pulled it off, there was a little bit of bleeding, but I honestly liked how it looked. I felt like it looked almost like it was done on purpose. So I was okay with that. So I feel like, all that struggle was for a reason. So then I'm kind of just sanding down the letters once they're dry, make sure they're dry, and, making them look like this sign is a little bit more worn, and it was made this way. Now, I debated. I almost did purple flowers for springtime, but I loved how this sign came out, and I wanted to make it to where I could use it year round. So I just took some greenery, and I am forming another O and hot gluing those down. And then same as last time, I'm just taking a little bit more of that little Walmart scrap greenery and just filling in the spots that weren't as full or that I felt like needed a little bit more shape or fullness to them. Then once I had everything like I wanted, I just started sanding down on the raised part of this little sign because that was the darker portion before, and I liked how some of that darker stuff came out, and I absolutely love this sign. I will definitely have this in my house year round for sure. And if you guys made it all the way to the end of this video, you are absolutely awesome. So leave me a heart emoji, and as always, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you next time.